Hello again, welcome to European Autocraft Studios 944 transmission series sort of thing. Anyways, what we decided to do this week, we're not going to pull these shafts apart really on camera, you've already seen that, but the limited slip differential is something that I wanted to get apart and show you, and we need to know what we need for it because we're going to get all these parts ordered for the turbo transmission so we can put that back together. So we're going to talk about LSD. Sounds like fun, right? LSD, everybody needs it. So I'm looking at the description and information on how to take it apart, put it back together. And there's really two steps. Undo the Allen screws on the housing cover and then remove all inner parts. Pretty simple, we can do that. But there's so much more reassembling and measuring and checking, so there's still a lot to do to make sure we get it back together correctly. This has been apart before. Remember, this is the one that we believe had the ring and pinion changed. Some of the bolts have taken kind of a beating. We're gonna, if these bolts are available, we want to replace them. So I already clamped this in the vise and broke them all loose. Now I'm going to separate it. And yeah, a lot more to assemble it, but coming apart should be pretty easy. So let's see. We always use the directions so we can see what's inside and know what we're looking at. Okay. So first we'll get the ones out. Add a little power to this thing. That's the pump drive. And now we should have some tension on these. Wow. These are our thrust washers. Wow. Nice looking thrust washers. Fancy, fancy. Let's see. These are concave. And you know, let me get the exact description of this stuff as I take it apart so we know. All right, there's the breakdown. I'm sure in your workshop, man, you have seen this. So we're going to go through the description of these parts as we take it apart. So 4, we already know we're thrust washer, right? That was easy. Friction washer, they call it, not thrust washer. And 5 is a diaphragm spring. Diaphragm meaning it's concave and can be spring loaded, and that's really thick. So I'm going to pull these apart in such a way they go back together the same way, because we're going to measure these. That one is the outer plate. We'll stack it this way. This one is the inner plate, I imagine, right? 7, inner plate, molybdenum coated. So we're going to measure these and see what we have for dimension. Most likely they're worn. I'm going to need a little screwdriver for that. Oh, that's better. Let's just do it this way. Perfect. All right, so that was there, there, and there. Another, all the same parts on the other side. Now there's some interesting things about these. There's in the description here. What are these? These are called the thrust rings. On the 944 Turbo S, which is a little more power, these are a little bit beefier. They're thicker by about 1/2 millimeter. And there's a footnote here which is kind of interesting. I never knew that. It has reinforced 2.5 millimeter thick plates, so the plates are thicker. Two thrust rings each are remachined by a 1/2 millimeter in order to provide the same plate package thickness. So I'm wrong. These aren't thicker. They're machined a 1/2 millimeter less to accommodate the thicker plates. So if I had read it correctly, I would have known the first time. But so that's interesting to note. If you have a 944 Turbo S transmission, even the limited slip is a little bit beefier than the regular 944 Turbo limited slip. But it's all machined, so everything's the same basic chuck that would go inside there. So that's interesting. I also found something else that was interesting. If I can find it again. Under normal conditions, install the diaphragm springs with the raised section pointing outwards toward the knuckle flange. That's these. If there is a noise, the manufacturer turns the diaphragm spring onto the housing side. So these limited slip differentials are identified by a yellow dot on the housing. So even at the factory, they really take care to make sure that this thing doesn't get noisy, and they'll reposition the springs to make sure that when the car is delivered to you, it's not making noise. And they actually change the position of the spring inside the housing. Very interesting. So let's see, the housing depth, depth gauge. So we have some measuring to do once we reassemble it. When we get the new plates, we're going to have to measure how deep the housing is, and then get the plates accordingly to put this package together, get that dimension, and it's pretty complicated. There's also a turning torque that we need, breakaway torque. This is a 40% locking ratio, so this will grip up to 40% and break loose above 40%, so it can turn and slip sideways. Great stuff. It's actually my first limited slip I pulled apart. So we get to inspect it together here. Spider gears. Expect all these will be in really good shape. Remember on the other limited slip, the part that goes inside for the stub axle to bolt to. It's got little tabs on it that lock in there. Two axle shafts are interlocked. Yeah, these are like no wear at all on these. No wear on the shaft, if I can feel. Yeah, good shape. Everything's in good shape. Hope you guys stick around to the end. We have something. We finally got our compressor working, and you've got to stick around to see the process of starting this thing, because we had to test it and make sure that everything worked before we actually run the compressor into the big machine. So we got the phase converter going. You got to see it all work. So at the end of the video, we're going to post a video we did on Wednesday of testing the machine and starting it. It's a lot of fun. So stick around for that. I was supposed to tell you that at the beginning of the video and I forgot. So, but either way, it's a lot of fun to watch. All right, and there's the other side. So the spider gears are all the same, except we have two shafts for the spider gears that go together, and some clutches that keep this thing nice and tight, up to 40% of the torque. So I'm going to get some clean these up a little bit, and I'm going to get the calipers out, and I want to do some measuring. So we'll be right back. All right. Now we have to do some math. Bear with me, because it's basic math. It's simple, but remembering the steps and all the little numbers. I'm not good with numbers. Anyways, so we're going to measure the depth of the drum that this entire package goes in. Everything but our springs. So we're going to measure that depth first. That's going to be dimension A. Let's see what we have for dimension A. Follow along in the service manual if you like. It's so much fun on a Saturday to do this. All right, what do we got? 77.68. So our dimension A is 77.68. And the example they show is 77.5, so it works. So another dimension we're looking for is E2 plus E2. That's our friction surface, or the inner plates. This is what would wear in this whole system. So let's see what we have on those. So this is E2, and there's two E2s. We have 1.93 and 1.93 even wear. So our 1.93 plus 1.93, 683. I surprise myself sometimes when I do that. That's pretty cool. So 3.86. What we're looking for is 4.2. So obviously these should be 2.1 millimeters each, but they are not. So these are worn. Now, well, let's see if I can figure the next one out. So now we also, the same E dimension, we're going to try and we're going to calculate it using the tire assembly and the difference between the depth of this assembly and the cavity. Let's try that one. Okay, so we put the inner and outer plate together on the bottom and on the top. We cleaned all these off. There's no dirt or anything that's going to give us any added dimension to this. They want you to clamp this in the vise. We tried it just to see what it would do, and it doesn't. It seems to tilt it. I couldn't get it exactly square to get a good measurement. This is going to be a good measurement here. We can just put a little bit of weight on it. It's so minor, any difference we would get here. So let's see if I can not knock this over. And let's see what our dimension is here. Oh yeah, come on. This stack we have 73.56. 73.56. Right? Not going to attempt to subtract those. Way too big for me. So 77.68 minus 73.56. We have 4.12. 4.12. Now this is all in millimeters, obviously. Let's be correct here. Millimeters. Okay. So what are we missing? If we do 4.2 minus 4.12, we're missing 0.08 there. And then 4.12 minus 3.86, we're missing 0.26 here. So what's our total? Yes, I guess we don't need to know that. Let's see, 4.2. If these were both 4.2 millimeters, we would be at the correct dimension. So we need to get, where are we? We need to get new friction plates first, the inners. We need to get these first before we can do the rest of this calculation, because the outer plates are actually shims. These are 2 millimeters. You can get them in 2.1 and you can get them in 1.9. These are 2.0 exactly. The spring plates don't change, and we're obviously not going to change the depth. So Jeff is going to get us 2 new friction plates, which are the inner discs, inner plates. Once we get new ones, we're going to redo this measurement and hopefully get closer to the 4.2 millimeters that we need. If not, then we can get one size up or one size down of these, and we'll get a lot closer. Then when all this is done and put back together, we're going to do a turning torque on this and see where we are. And that's not in this page, but that's okay. We know what we got to do. we're probably going to get new thrust washers. And really, that's about it. So this whole transmission, we're doing synchros. Full gasket and seal set, obviously. When you see that video coming up, you're going to see our machine is getting closer to being run. All this stuff, well, maybe not that one today, but all these transmission cases, everything are going to be cleaned in that machine. It's going to be beautiful. I forgot where I was. But anyways, ring and pinion for this, all synchros, gaskets. We're going to get 2 inner plates for the limited slip. Probably, if I could talk them into it, getting us one size of each of these. That way, once we do our calculations, we can throw it all together, do a turning torque, make sure we have everything correct, and we're good to go. So that's the LSD, limited slip differential. And my first time taking one apart too, really simple. The math, it always scares me, but it's pretty simple. We just got to get it all done in the right order. So that's it. We're going to take a look at the video next. Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, and all that good stuff. And we'll see you next week. All right, we're finally here at European Autocraft Studios with our 3-phase converter. It's time to start it. We have everything wired up. Covers are off just to check a few things. The electrician bolted before I pushed the button because he's afraid of that monster over there. Hasn't run in many, many years. We don't know if it's going to run, so you're here to see it first. Start. So, first things first. Massive 70 amp breaker. Let's see what happens. Okay, that's one. Second switch, we're going to start the motor, which somehow does some stuff that makes 3-phase out of 2-phase. This is a very big unit, draws a lot of power. Let's see if it starts. All right. Now we've got 3-phase coursing its way down this way to the disconnect on the compressor. We have the belt off because I want to make sure we have good correct rotation first. If not, we have to switch a couple of phases. So let's go see if the motor starts. All right. I have no idea what condition the contactor is in. I have the switch on. It should start when I flip the disconnect here. Let's see what happens. There's our motor running in the wrong direction, I think. Great sound too, isn't it? Yeah. So let's see what direction it's running. I'm going to have to change a couple of wires. It's going the wrong way. It should be rotating counterclockwise from this angle. I'm sure from the frames per second difference you might see that go in different ways. So we'll look at it here. Maybe I'll just grab it. Just kidding. Which way is it going? It's going the wrong direction. Okay.
Yeah, it's going the other way now.
I can fix that.
Those 2 wires?
Just 2 of them. Oh, yeah, that's what the electrician told me anyways. Okay, I'm going to swap these 2 wires. We'll be right back. All right, we got the wire switched. We verified the motor going in the right direction. There's just enough oil in it for a quick test. We're not going to run it very long. This unit, as you know, you've seen this videos before with the broken compressor head. This one came from eBay, but it seems like it feels okay. It's an older style. I think this is one made in the US. So let's see what happens. Ready? Wow. Sounds good. Well, get there. Good. We've got air. We've got 3-phase. Next, connected to this machine, we're going to have our wet blasting machine running really soon. Stick around for that. I can't wait to show it to you.